Hello everybody, welcome to another exciting edition of Super Soldier Talks. I'm James Rink, and today I'm going to introduce you to Michael Spinler. Now, I've known Michael for a few years now, and it wasn't until only just recently that we were able to get around to doing an interview. I guess a lot of us had to sort together what's exactly going on with him. Now, I know Michael, he actually has some abilities to channel from the other side. And over the years, I've seen some of his unusual gifts. In particular, like one time, now I believe Michael is probably connected to these super soldier programs. In particular, and I believe he was also a super soldier in a past life, or at least Michael thinks he is. He thinks he may be anyway. And because I know, like for instance, one time, I was outside working and I kept humming the Soviet national anthem, and I was like, well, why am I keep humming this song? And then I got home and I started talking to Michael, and then he recalled how he was a Soviet super soldier in his past life. And so I don't know, maybe I was just tapping into him or somehow, but it wasn't just that. And actually he actually got the name of the person he was. But it was other things as well. But I'm going to let you hear Michael's testimony at the first part of this interview. But the second part, we actually do like a remote viewing session together where we help gather some more information. And actually what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to summarize some of the information that we gathered from this remote viewing session. So the first part, or the first scene we went to is perhaps it was maybe a past life experience. But Michael recalled himself being in Nuremberg in 1945, and he was in some kind of hospital-like setting. He was about 4 or 5 years old, and he was taken down below to an area where there were these boys fighting with each other in like a death match. And he claims that the boy looked at him. They actually had like these broomsticks that were sharpened, or like that sharp end point. And the guy, the little boy, was speared in his neck, and with blood was gushing out. He looked at Michael, and where the other boys in the room didn't have any remorse, Michael did. And so, but apparently in this lifetime, he got the name that he was a Jacob Schadenfreude, or Jacob Schadenfreude. Well, I don't know the German pronunciation of Jacob, but it was probably Jacob or something like that, or Jacob. But he says that they all wore these uniforms that look like a communist or something like Stalin would wear. And so then he recalls, like, an older man was there, and he said, "You're soldier spawns of the SS. You obey orders, you become the elite." Okay. And then he also saw in this pit where these children were fighting, they were also like dogs, like Dobermans versus Rottweilers, pigs versus pigs, and then they put children in there with animals and so forth. So they were basically doing some kind of death matches going on here. Okay, so then the next scene that we went to, Michael recalls, now as I said earlier, he has the ability to channel information. Well, apparently he recalls like these dead spirits of clone bodies. And this might have been earlier on when they were first experimenting and trying to figure out how to get these clones from disintegrating. And so these bodies only lasted a week, and they looked horrendous. And basically, they weren't able to stabilize them in the womb environment. So they were in tubes the entire time, like these in liquid tubes, and they had like some kind of like wires coming out of their necks, an IV or something like that. And they gave a message to Michael. They said, "Don't let them make you feel like a monster. You are only the monster they make you if you let them. They might look evil, but true evil comes with many faces." So wrap your mind around that one. All right, so then we go to the next scene, and this time we are in a room that has what appears to be the trip chair, or what he called it was the Total Recall Memory Boot Up System, or TMRBS. And it basically, you put your head in it, and there's this large apparatus around the head area, and a needle would go in the back of the head and would inject some kind of drug in some kind of vials, and then each one of these drugs was connected to certain memories that were inside a computer, and they would upload these memories, and as a result they could do certain kind of programming. Like for instance, he saw 2 clones of Aaron McCullen going in there. One had a white shirt, one had a green shirt. They were both going to be used in the same kind of mission, but each one had different functions. So although they had the same, a lot of the same memories, they were programmed to do certain things or certain tasks. Anyway, so then I had Michael sit in this total recall memory boot up system, and he started pulling up information on himself, and he says that he recalls the first thing he looked up is information about his mother, and apparently she was murdered with microwave weapons, and the doctors were paid off to not help her. And so they were trying to traumatize him by killing his mother. And he said something, this played into his persona of the blackbird, the crow. Michael is an assassin. You can't trick a crow. So that might be one of his programming or trigger codes. I don't know. But then he had another flashback. He was, when he was about 12 years old, he recalls being taken to a base in Michigan, in the woods of Michigan, where there was like a red barn nearby. There was about 50 kids, and they were doing these death matches, and about 5 kids would die. Now, I question or not whether this was actually an actual facility in Michigan or if it was virtual reality, because I mean, they don't really, because it appears that this group that was training him is connected to the Illuminati. So if they were to kill off these assets, that's a big loss. So that's why I think it might have been virtual reality. But either way, he says the name of this facility was M552, which M stands for Michigan, and he also claims there was a sister facility called Q552, possibly in Quebec. And I guess there's probably an underground system that goes between the two. But then we look up, because I remember, as I just mentioned earlier, that M552 is connected to possibly the Illuminati. He called it the Illuminated Ones. But there apparently is another faction, and again, this goes into with various Nazi sects that came here to the United States after World War II, Project Paperclip. And just like everyone has a different viewpoint of how things should be run, these different Nazis, even though they have a core ideal philosophy, there are certain groups that broke off from each other. Like this group is called the Therians, and the Therians apparently made a deal with the reptilians and the Galactic Federation of Light to recover alien technology that's used by the Illuminati to basically screw up the time of this. So basically, the aliens over the past 50, 60 years or so have been giving, or at least some of the negative ETs have been giving the Illuminati technology in the hopes, you know, I shouldn't even say negative, because there was a time when certain groups of Greys would work with them that weren't really negative. They were just, I mean, they had their own interests and they had their interests, but the intention was to some of these technologies to be released to the public so that it would help humanity, like cloning technologies and so forth. But instead, they've just, these cabal families have been holding on to this technology for themselves. They haven't released it to the public. And so what the Therians are doing is they're reclaiming this technology, and a lot of it's stolen. So they were claiming it and giving it back to the aliens. And they're also trying to fix the timeline, going back in time, trying to make sure. That's why, for instance, we haven't seen all the cataclysms and martial law and civil war and nuclear wars, because of the work that these guys have been doing. So they're actually sending people back in time and so forth. And so they're called the Therians. And apparently, Michael is also connected to this group too. So maybe Michael's like a double operative. And apparently that's what I am. I'm also connected to this group. Their insignia looks like a circle with a triangle inside of it. And a lot of people that I know that are connected to this group claim that they see people wearing like a skin-tight black suit that enhances their strength and speed and has this, like I said, that insignia on their sleeve. And the suit is supposedly called a nano-cybernetic suit. So really, any civilian could be put inside this suit and become a super soldier, theoretically, provided they have the brain power to do it. But we pulled up some more information about this Nazi sect. Well, I think it's a Nazi sect, but they're called the Therian. Well, actually, his profile read Therian Operative Alpha 224. And it basically so he was having a little bit of trouble finding information on this, so I helped him out a bit, and he saw the code words 224 operative, press 5 Blackbird, call out Delta 44, Magnum main family, 12 gauge automatic shotgun A4 A12, M4 carving, data point, assassination, wet work, black operation. So you can wrap your mind around those code words and take what you want from that. Okay, so then Mike was able to recall one other memory, perhaps a memory, but anyway. He says that he recalls being taken to Mars, and he says that he remembers basically after he was activated, he would teleport out of his home into a white van, which would then rendezvous to a certain location where he would be taken, I guess he would be put into a clone avatar body, and that would be sent off to Mars. And he was given like a special suit to deal with the low gravity, and he said the sky looked blue just like ours. And he also claims that the NASA rovers on Mars have seen these soldiers doing skirmishes. And when he was on Mars, there was a group of, it was about 50, I think there was a battle of about 50 people, 50 Illuminati super soldiers, and he was tasked to exterminate them with his group. They basically ran them back into their facility and all that, and they killed a few of them. But so he says that his weapon looked like, there's a picture there, but it had like this pink color pulse light would come out of it, like a laser light or something, and the target would implode and explode. So anyway, all right, so the last part is he pulled up my file, and we weren't really able to get very far on that one. He said that something in the lines that they didn't want to give him any information because it would trigger me and I would become an unstoppable force. So that's what he claims anyway. But he said that the answers will be found at Jackson, which apparently is this Nazi Milab facility located on Mars, which I believe is located underneath an ancient gray and reptilian base. I mean, they've been cloning human super soldiers. Well, I don't know how long they've been cloning them there, but those clones have mostly been sent off-world missions. But underneath that facility is where the human personnel are, and that's where this Jackson facility is. So there you have it. Take what you want from all this. It's curious anyway. I mean, I can't prove any of it, but I guess we'll just have to wait and see. So let's go ahead and play the audio recording here. And thank you everybody for listening in, and bye-bye. Hello everybody, James Rink here. Welcome to another exciting edition of Super Soldier Talk. It's September 3rd, 2013, and I have Michael, do you want me to give your last name out? Or is
you can.
Okay, Michael Spinler. How old are you, Michael?
I'm 21.
Okay, and I know we've known each other for a couple years, and you've claimed that you've had these experiences with reptilians, super soldiers, underground bases. I guess I don't even know where to begin. So why don't you just begin with maybe why you think you might be involved with all this?
Well, I can actually think back to about age 7 when my first experience was actually in this school called Oak Haven, and they had me in a special class with only 3 kids in it. And basically, all they would do is have sessions where they would hold us down on the ground and tell us, calm down, and we'll let you go. Basically torture us, beat us around, make us kind of crazy until we became little animals. And after talking to a lot of psychics here and there, people in the programs and things, I found out that that was basically just trauma enforcement, because on the side they were brainwashing me and removing my memories, basically turning me into a super soldier. So around age 9, I started seeing like TR3Bs. I later found out they were called triangular-shaped UFOs, just like flying over my house. I would just lose time, be in my backyard, look up, and there'd be a TR3B just flying away. And I used to just write it down. I actually had a website called Paranormal Conclusions on freewebs.com when I was real little. And I was a confused little kid because of all of it, but I've started putting more pieces together now that I'm talking to people like you and watching videos like James Casbolt and people like that, so it's helping a lot.
Okay, but I know at least you've always had an interest in mind control. I guess that's how you found out about my videos and contacting me. It was through YouTube.
Yeah.
Were you searching for mind control videos?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, I noticed I had a lot of missing time growing up, like just large spaces where just I couldn't place exactly where I was or what was going on. And I'd ask my mom, and she would kind of just laugh and say, you'll figure it out at some point, but I can't say anything. But that's pretty much all I ever got out of anyone when I asked.
Okay. And then when we first made contact, you seemed like you had this ability to channel, or I don't know what it was, but you were able to gather data, and you actually pulled up some information about something about Project Monarch, Project Mayhem.
Yeah.
What do you know about that?
Well, from what I could gather, it was some sort of program where if people started kind of getting out of control, starting to figure out what was going on and rioting in the streets, all of the super soldiers that had this program, Mayhem, would flip a switch and just go and start riot control, killing people, laying down, little riots here and there, just trying to make everything nice and back in order the way it should be. But, yeah, that's pretty much all I know about Mayhem.
But as far as Mayhem is concerned, is that something that you're involved with?
As far as I know, I had that sort of programming installed, but I know I've been talking to people, and I mean, I'm learning things even as of today. I just found out that apparently I'm an alpha and a delta, which I had no idea. I thought that there's no possible way because I'm not that big of a guy. I kind of thought it correlated, but I guess not.
Well, why don't you explain exactly what an alpha is?
Well, an alpha would be an attack super soldier, someone that's an assassin, like a grunt soldier does recon, and basic, like if they need someone to go in a single sniper or a single assassin, they send in an alpha. A delta is, as far as I know, it's more of a covert sort of assassin. They sneak in very stealthily and try to kill them without anyone realizing they were ever there, so they don't have to be as brutal. They have to be very technical. And then there's the Omegas, which are basically there to keep all the others in line.
Okay, because I know that Heather material mentioned alphas and omegas, super soldiers, but it didn't really say anything what they were. So
yeah,
okay.
I mean, a lot of people know about them. It's just, I figured, I shouldn't put too much out there, but lately I've been noticing a lot more. I mean, I found out the name of my handler, and that things have been getting a little strange lately, so I figure try to get some things out there, try to get a little bit of safety in the media.
Okay, and you said, all right, so now we're jumping around here. You mentioned you have a handler. What exactly do you mean by a handler?
Well, basically, I was talking to 3 different people that are in the programs and say that they remember me. 3 people that, as far as I know, don't know each other at all, said the exact same thing, word for word. This woman with the last name Frost, with black hair and green eyes, who my mother had known, apparently as my handler from a very young age, always there, And whenever they need me, they'll basically go through her to contact me, to trigger me into going and off on these missions, basically.
Okay. All right. So this person is someone that you report into before you are sent off on these missions.
Yeah.
Okay. Now let's talk a little bit more about these missions, because some people are going to be out there who look, they may be in the military, and they're questioning, well, what are you, Black Ops or what? Are you actually in the military?
I'm actually not in the military. There is a lot of military in my family, though. I was planning on going into the military, and then I met my current girlfriend, and she convinced me not to. So I ended up not joining up with the Marines.
Okay. So you're not enlisted in the U.S. military, but yet you're going on missions. Who are you going on missions for? Is what I'm trying to get to.
Well, as far as I can tell, and as far as I've been told, it's some sort of Black Ops undercover secret order that's against the Illuminati and the New World Order. So it's basically like you'll have the super soldiers fighting for the Illuminati, and then you'll have us, where we were basically trained by the same people in the same way, but we're fighting against them. And no one can seem to come up with a name of them, but we know that their emblem is a black circle with a green triangle, or a pyramid in the center of it. And their uniforms are typically either gray or black. So.
Okay, so a black triangle with a green circle inside of it.
Yeah.
Okay. Now
I call it Black Ops, but.
Now, I talked to Felton about this, and Felton is another super soldier who also claims to have seen that same symbol on the insignia, not only on himself, but on me. He says that the circle is actually color-coded to different squads, like Alpha may be green, but there could be maybe a gold color, and that may refer to maybe Omegas. I'm just guessing, I don't know. Or some other color, red or so on.
Yeah, I mean, I know some of the memory recall I had about a base that had TR-3Bs in it, and this elevator. It kind of looked like a doctor's office, pure white upstairs. When you go downstairs through this very, well, I'd say silver, very high-tech looking elevator, we went down to this level that just said level 4 on the door when it opened, and there was this hybrid standing there, and apparently I wasn't supposed to be there. I wasn't supposed to see this thing. Very silverish hair, kind of silverish gray skin, and its suit had that same emblem but in a different color. It was more purple with black instead of green and black. So.
Yeah, and that's a good point that you brought this up. So you see these beings with, you said they had silvery hair, but you told me were they reptilians?
They seemed to be reptilian. They it was kind of a telepathic, not telepathic thing where it was just like it's a reptilian hybrid of something, and I wasn't supposed to see it. All it did was hiss, and its hair kind of stood up on its head. And then I was being escorted by two gigantic guys in black suits up back through the elevator. And it was basically, you weren't supposed to see that. You're not going to tell anybody. If you do, that's it. And it was all telepathic. They didn't have to say anything.
All right. Okay. So as far as these reptilian, how tall were they?
Well, the one I saw, I mean, it looked like it had to be at least 7 or 8 feet tall, but it was very lanky, and hunched over. But there was another one that I had seen. I'd assume the same base, but it could have been a different base. They were very similar-looking guards walking around. But this thing, it had to be maybe 9, 10 feet tall, gigantic build with a big tail. And it had more of a short-sleeve type uniform. Like it had black and purple shorts and a short-sleeve sort of uniform on up top with shoulder pads.
Okay.
This thing, I mean, it was more of a greenish gold color.
But
this thing was massive.
Okay. Did you see that same insignia on their uniform?
That one, it was almost like a Star Trek type thing. It was the triangle top, but it kind of was like a indent up on the bottom. And it was a gold with like a purple badge and a black rim. It was very strange looking.
Do these beings work with the same group that I guess we could say that we're involved with, assuming.
Yeah, I mean, if I had to call that being anything, I'd say it was a kernel. I mean, it was definitely something that I didn't even want to mess with. Like, it shook the floor of the base, and it's like thick concrete like you would expect to protect against nuclear warheads, and it's shaking, trembling under its weight. It was gigantic, and it passed within at least 3 feet of me.
So you've seen reptilians, and do we work alongside these guys?
Typically, I would say, yeah. I mean, I don't know if I do. I don't have very many memories of them, but I do remember seeing them here and there in places where I probably shouldn't have been and was at the time. I mean, I know level 5s and 6s tend to work with them, because these guys, they were beyond my pay grade, if you want to say that way, even though I don't get paid.
Okay, and I want to pause you there because you said level 5 and level 6. I think you mean Gen 5, Gen 6.
Yeah.
Do they call it level 5 or do they call it Gen 5? Or
I mean, it just depends on how you want to say it. It's basically kind of phrase.
Yeah. Well, why don't you explain what the different gens are, the different generations of super soldiers?
Well, I mean, if you look at like first generation, that would be like the Nazis, what they first created, the men that were basically just up on steroids and meth. And then you kind of integrate into Gen 2, which is Duncan O'Finian and people like that. Then there's Gen 3 with Aaron McCullum. And then you get to Gen 4s, which is people more like me, James Casbolt. The assassins that basically have a lot of implants in them, but generally not a whole lot of cybernetics. I mean, it's there, but it's not completely integrated like it would be in a Gen 5, where they're just insane. I mean, they could lift a battle tank with one hand. I'm sure they're powerful. And I mean, these things, I thought, at least in the telepathic senses, they're most likely a Gen 6. I mean, they were big guys. They had to be 7 feet tall at the shoulder. I mean, they towered over me, kind of like the reptilian, but not as big.
So what about Gen 7?
I mean, I've heard that they can basically form things out of themselves, kind of like out of the Terminator movies, because they're basically just a robot that looks like a human, if they even decide to look like a human. And there's the Gen 8s and things like that, which I don't even know about, but I've heard of from people.
Yeah. Well, evidently, you said that I was a Gen 5.
Yeah, that's basically a robot-human mesh that is a perfect blend. You're you're basically a robot that imitates human life.
Okay, but that refers to the altar that they use us in, not necessarily me.
Yeah.
Okay, and we can talk a little bit about that in a moment, but you actually channeled something here. I don't know if you remember this. I'm going to read something to you, and tell me if you remember this. Okay, you started saying something about a stand-down code. You said 449-337-443, and this refers to James Michael Rink. And then you said activation code. I'm not going to give that out. Then you said level 5 operative, Gen 5 biomechanical superhuman of the Alpha Attack Group, branch of Ortega team. Team call name Alpha Wolf. Do you remember saying this?
Yep. Okay.
Do you know what that means? Ortega team, Alpha Wolf. What?
Well, I know that the Alpha actually refers to the work that me and you actually did together in missions, where we would actually go off-world and fight. But you were such an advanced hyper weapon compared to us that you were basically our secret weapon in the battles. You were kind of our go-to, pretty much.
It sounds like I was used mostly for I was deployed for field use, and you were mostly stayed in the base. Is that how it works? And you were doing recon or something like that?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, we would have to go out in full spacesuits that pretty much look like form-fitting tanks around us. You could basically go out there in basic scuba gear if you wanted to. That's basically the difference. So, I mean, if you want to send out little robot men, you could, or you could send just out one of you.
And Felton elaborated a little bit about this because I'm always curious, well, if I was thrown in outer space, would I just implode or what? And it appears that when they activate me, not only do I shapeshift to get a little bit taller, I have a human form that's a little bit taller and bigger, but I have another form. Apparently, we stand in front of this blue light, and I shapeshift into, well, I wasn't sure how tall he was, but I think you said maybe 7 foot tall.
Yeah, something like that, because, I mean, the Gen 6s were in and around that big, so if you shapeshift, I'd assume that large. I mean, they could have just been pulling my leg and been Gen 5s, but...
So I shapeshift into this 7 foot tall dude. He had silvery-like skin, silvery-like cyborg-like suit, and he had this left eyepiece that was heat-seeking or something. It had some really cool readouts. And he also had like this glass plate over the skull or over the head. Do you recall seeing any beings like that?
Well, I mean, there's a lot of different cyborg beings where they just kind of patch things together, different animal parts and alien parts, and tried to make different creatures. So I wouldn't doubt it. I mean, I've seen plenty of things like different breathing apparatuses, like bald-headed men with giant breathing tanks and huge suits of armor that you would kind of expect to see in a video game, but these guys are completely real. And I mean, if you ever saw one, you would probably run in complete terror. Even having the training and knowing what I am, even in Alter, I would run. Because as a Gen 4, there's no way I could compete.
Okay. But you even said that Gen 5s are obsolete now.
Yeah, I mean, we're all pretty much obsolete, but they still keep pumping us out because, I mean, you could make one thing for a couple trillion, or you could make one, like, you could make a bunch of little things for $1 billion, or you could make one big thing for $1 trillion. I mean, it just makes more sense to make a bunch of little things. You can make a couple thousand Gen 4s, you can only make 1 or 2 Gen 5s, or, you know, that's kind of the number ratio.
Oh, so the amount of Gen 6 and 7s, they're probably still experimental. There's maybe only 1 or 2 of them.
Yeah, I mean, their price range goes into numbers that we couldn't even comprehend. Like, our national debt of trillions looks like pocket change compared to their actual price tag just for one.
But we're talking about money here, and I mean, it appears like this group that we work with has Greys, Anunnakis, reptilians, and human military from Earth. So I don't really think money is an issue.
Yeah, I mean, probably not.
Oh, okay. All right, well, let me go on here and read. It says here, mission successes 94, mission failures 12. All right, personal percentage of success 91.2% pre-tone CI. What does that mean?
You know, some things I actually channel and could not tell you what they mean. Yeah, I was told I'm actually a natural channeler from birth. I already knew that, but I mean, sometimes things come through and say things, and I couldn't tell you what they're trying to say. Sometimes I already, like, they'll tell me what they mean, so I could tell you later, but that one, I'm not positive. I mean, the mission successes, I know that's basically, like, they want to keep track of how good you actually are, so that they know whether they want to use you for this or that or the other thing. So, I mean, that's all that is. The pre-tone CI, I'm not positive what it stands for. But, yeah, the percentage, I mean, that's a pretty good percentage of success when you think about it, because mine would probably be about 70. So.
Oh. Okay. All right. And it says here, Project Mayhem of the Monarch program. You've already covered that, so I guess I'm going to be activated during martial law. Is that how?
Yeah, I mean, like, if martial law breaks out, that Mayhem training basically kicks in and people start just coming out of the woodwork as super soldiers, basically controlling it all.
So does that mean, like, if martial law happened here on my street, I would turn into a super soldier, or does that mean I have to shapeshift into an avatar, or how does that...
I mean, I would assume that it would just be an avatar that they would kind of boot you into, but, I mean, it could just be you. It could be both. It all depends on what they feel like doing. And
I find it curious you use the word boot. So it almost sounds like we're just being information is being downloaded.
Pretty much. I mean, if you think of the implants, sorry, they're kind of messing with me a little bit, but if you think of the implants as kind of like little boot ports for satellites, that's basically all it is. We're just computers being controlled by them. we might have our own thoughts and things, but they're controlling what we really want to do, what we do with our lives, where we are. That's why a lot of us end up in dead-end jobs or, whatever.
They don't want us to be successful?
Yeah, I mean, they basically they don't want any kind of deniability. They want to be able to control us in every aspect, so they put the little implants in to inhibit us, stop us from being able to do the things that they taught us to do, basically.
Yeah, but these guys claim to be the good guys. They're the ones fighting against the Illuminati, right? Is that?
Yeah, but I mean, that doesn't mean just because you're fighting the good cause that you have to follow all the rules. Sometimes you break the rules.
Okay. All right, let's go on here. It says, super soldier chosen for his PSI abilities, trained in hand-to-hand guerrilla management, black ops, special ops, and PSI warfare. What is that, PSI warfare?
That would be like if you're sleeping, they basically boot you up out of your body and you go get used for psychic assassinations. More in the spirit world, like you'll just pick up a knife, stab somebody, and it's like a ghost did it. No one did it. There's no prints. There's no evidence you were ever there, and that can very well happen. I've actually done that in this mindset when I was about 13 years old. My first try ever at astral projection in this mind. And I astral projected into my kitchen, picked up a knife, and heard an audible bang to where my mother heard it, I heard it, and we both ran up into the kitchen, and the knife was on the counter rocking.
Wow. So you're manipulating matter. Telekinesis?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, you're moving it with your mind, but in that mindset, it's like you're using your actual limbs. I'm sure there are people that are good enough to just do it with their mind, but for a first try, I mean, I could probably never do it again. I mean, that terrified me that I could even do that, and it kind of traumatized me more than anything.
Yeah, right. Continue on here. It says, to be installed into the body of one James Michael Rink. And then you happen to give my address, which was really kind of freaky because I've never told you where I lived.
Yeah, that happens to me a lot.
So, yeah, I can't really explain that one. And then you said, trigger tone C-flat of the sonar projection sequence Ortega Mono Estrella. Or Estrell? I don't know. I mean, what does that mean?
Basically, I would assume that that's just code lingo for when they're using the HARP system or whatever system they use now. I mean, the equivalent where they send out the tones and boot you up into your body and all that. That would be your trigger tone if you could figure out all that code.
Okay, so it sounds like they're using HARP or satellites to trigger us, our implants, and then what happens?
Well, I mean, generally you can tell if you're going to be triggered. I mean, for Gen 4s, a lot of times, if you go swimming, a lot of times, if you go under the water a lot, when you surface, you'll actually hear an audible click inside of your head, and that's the implant reconnecting to a satellite, making your brain expand and contract. That's them trying to regain contact on you. Because if you're surrounded by, say, metal or underwater, it breaks contact for a little bit just because it's working off of those frequencies the same as satellites.
And then you said trigger word Tommy Cat. So if it's a trigger word, it doesn't seem to be triggering me.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes it comes through a little hazy, I will admit.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
And then you said stand down phrase go to. So
yeah. I later found out that was just them basically saying that you were our go-to. It wasn't really your stand down. It was more, you were our go-to guy. When we had no hope, we'd go to you. You were our go-to.
Then what about you?
Me, I was basically just, for the most part, earthly missions. I mean, when I was off-world, it was mainly spent in bases doing things like managing you. Things like that, like keeping an eye on people, kind of.
You're my handler?
Not a handler, more just a helpful word of advice for most people. Because I have a lot of combat experience in that altar, people go to me for help in those situations, kind of as a consultant.
And I'm glad you brought that up, combat experience, because you've told me that you think you might have been a Russian super soldier in a past life, a Soviet one.
Yeah. Because I actually Well, when I was younger, basically, I used to have these odd flashbacks of sitting in the snow with this guy I didn't know, but in this mindset, he was my best friend in the world. And we're sitting there just sipping at this half bottle of vodka, talking about how bad this sucks and how we're going to die, like, in this crappy war that didn't need to happen. Basically, fighting for something that we didn't believe in for the Red Army as these super soldiers, just dying in the wilderness alone. And that was the last memory I had of that life. But that's kind of an odd thing to really be remembering at age 8, 9 years old, telling your parent, at the time, and having them just look at you and go, yeah, and?
Huh.
It's kind of an odd thing.
Well, you've actually told me the name of the person you thought he might be. Do you recall that?
I mean, vaguely.
Oh, okay. I don't have it in my notes anywhere, so... all right. Well, the last two things you said was area of attendance was Jackson's.
Mm.
And do you happen to know what that is?
Jackson's?
Yeah.
I'd say it was in Jacksonville, Florida, is one of the bases.
Well, why do you think Jacksonville, Florida?
Well, it was basically, I was trying to figure out, where is this base that's always so warm? I always remember sweating even in the altar, which never happens, because generally our skin is very cold to the touch, or piping hot if you're the right generation. But, I mean, I would assume that it would be Jacksonville, Florida, just because that's what I got when I tried to channel where it was, the energy.
Well, do you want to know where I think it might be?
Yeah.
And by the way, you're not the only person who claimed that I've been at the Jackson facility. I've had maybe three or four separate people. None of them knew each other. All did readings on me, and they all said you're connected to the Jackson facility or so forth. So I had someone remote view this facility, and they saw a huge dome over it, and it looked like in a desert region, in a desert area. It was like an energetic dome, and underneath this dome was a giant, maybe 2 or 3 mile wide crater or something that was exposed to the sunlight, and there was all these cryogenic chambers, and apparently they're all open up to there was a window, and the sun was shining in, illuminating these chambers, and there were basically human bodies in these chambers, and they were being cloned or grown. In, I guess you would say cryostasis or whatever, by these reptilians and greys in this upper facility. And below that, there was a human-only facility, where human personnel reside, because they weren't allowed to come into the upper facility. And all these clones, when they grew up to a certain age, I think it was maybe around 5 or 6, they were sent down below and given further training. And it turns out this facility below is the Nazi Milabs Jackson facility. That's where the Jackson facility is. I don't know the name of the facility above it, because I think that was a lot older than the newer facility below it. And apparently, this facility is on Mars. So, I don't know if any of that resonates with you or not.
Well, I know there's a lot of activity on Mars. I mean, they use it basically as a little jumping ground for going off-world anyway. I already knew that, but I never knew that there was a base called Jackson on it. That's news to me.
Yeah. So, and apparently, some of these clones in these facilities, they actually have 2 different types of clones. The one that I just told you about, where they grow it up to the age of 6, and then they're given further. They're taken out of the cloning vats and given real training, on real person training. And then they have another type where they can just inject a virus, and they live for about 2 weeks. But the virus injects memories and programming, whatever they want into it, and so this clone can go off and do for certain dangerous missions. Because obviously they don't want to spend years and years and years making a clone and training it and then send it off to be killed. Because there's a lot of, it's not necessarily money, but it's just the expense of time. So yeah, okay, and it appears that I was trained, or I've been at this Jackson facility. So I'm just curious. Do you think I might have been grown in one of those cloning vats?
I mean, it's definitely possible. I mean, you could even be the very first person that they actually just kind of extracted the clones out of to make all of them. You never know.
So maybe it's possible I could have been grown up there and then sent to the Jackson facility for a couple of years and then sent back to Earth, embedded into a human family just to see how it would interact.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely possible. 'Cause, I mean, I know that I was in the programs from about age 5 too, and I mean, it gets a little dicey when you try to go back that far in terms of memories.
Yeah. Well, is there anything else that we should cover here that you feel is important or relevant to tell people about yourself?
Well, I mean, I would have to say I did actually find out where my handler lived, and for a couple days in a row, I would drive by, I'd slow down real slow, stop in front of the house and beep a few times till I'd see a curtain move. And after 2 days of doing this, there were cops basically doing a roadblock on both sides of the street, just searching cars. So I ended up having to go another way around. So I know I got pretty close, and if I had wanted to, I probably could have brought a close to all of this or ended up dead. But, I mean, that's pretty much why I wanted to get my story out there, just in case. I figure media is the only way to ensure safety.
Okay.
But if they kill me, they basically prove the point. And if I live, then, well, whatever. Some people take it, some won't.
This handler that's working for Milabs, do you think this handler is even aware that they're a handler in this other life that they're living? I mean, if they're obviously here living a life on Earth, but are they also living a double life as well, like you and I?
I mean, I've actually been wondering that for a while myself. I mean, it's kind of odd that if I beep by the house a couple times, they start setting up roadblocks right in front of the house. But at the same time, I mean, I'd like to think that they're just like you and me, where they are innocent in all of it. And if I went and talked to them, I could find some humanity in them. But sometimes it just doesn't happen.
Yeah. Well, apparently Felton claimed that his handler was a Richard Dupree. Do you remember a Richard Dupree?
The name definitely sounds familiar. I mean, Richard Dupree. I'd have to say that he's connected to Dulcie in some way, but that's just what I could channel from it.
Well, curiously, I posted this on my blog about Richard Dupree, and an anonymous individual posted a comment saying they remember Dupree being a prick. So I don't know.
His name did.
Yeah, it just seems to be a little bit more confirmation that apparently there must be something really going on here. If you guys are coming up with all these names and it's being cross,
I mean, I've been trying for a while to disprove it all to myself and be able to just say it's all fake, it doesn't exist. The more I look, the more I find it's just impossible to disprove. More and more people that are not connected at all are telling me the same things about myself, that my call name is Blackbird and that my handler's last name is Frost, that it's some woman that I've known my whole life and I have no idea I know her. But I do have memories of this woman with black hair and green eyes from my childhood at that school called Oak Haven, where it was actually a big case. A bunch of teachers actually got fired when I actually knocked one of them out cold at age 7 and shattered their cheekbone. So, I mean, that kind of strength from a little 50, 60-pound 7-year-old is insane. So it kind of proved it to me from just that alone, but the more I learn all these people saying the same exact things, it's just adding up to be amazing. I mean, if we can get this out in the open and kind of show what they've done, maybe at least we can get a fair trial. It might help. Some way, hopefully.
Do you think we're the good guys in all this, if we're fighting the Illuminati?
Well, I mean, I'd like to think we are, but I mean, their name is the Illuminated Ones, so we'd like to think that they know more.
It seems like that perhaps we work for the Illuminati, but it's a faction of the Illuminati that don't really like what the Cabal is doing. Is that what it appears? Or
that could definitely be it. I mean, my girlfriend actually, who has some gifts, I mean, she's not very good with them at all, but one night when we were sleeping, she woke up and ended up waking me up, and there were these 6 cloaked figures holding their hands together in front of their chests, and there was this odd orange glow to the room, and it was like a chanting. And all I got from it was they're Illuminati, like, officials just trying to perform their, I don't even know, some sort of ritual on us to invoke some sort of energy upon us. And I never did find out what it was, but she remembered it, and that's why now she even believes all of this, because she just has seen so much of it. And we've only been together for 4 years. I mean, my mother had seen so much before she died, and she died of a cancer which literally took her about a couple months to die. And I was talking to one of these people that I was with, found out she knew that I was in this program, and basically prattled off some numbers to me, which when I put them into the computer, it was like A459. I found out it was the exact type of cancer my mother died from. And I don't know why this psychic knew these numbers. I don't know why they knew it was the lung cancer my mom died from. But it kind of pointed into the direction of they killed my mother because she knew and because she was trying to help me break free. And that's why I'm getting all these memories in my 20s instead of in my 30s and 40s.
Wow. Okay. Well, that's an amazing gift there. Just keep working it, and it'll bring a lot of blessing in your life. I was wondering, do you happen to recall ever being placed in something like a trip seat or a trip chair?
I do remember being placed into a chair and having IVs hooked up to me. I mean, what I remember after that was just a very foggy, doped up feeling and being walked through all this facility, basically, through different rooms. Different parts were grungy and used for, like, mental breakdown. Other parts were sparkling clean and used for injections and, you know, training people in different ways, like mentally puzzles. There were big white tables in this gigantic, pure white room with little kids just doing puzzles, just walking by them like it's nothing, and these people with clipboards jotting down things from them. I mean, it's a very well thought out, almost Nazi death camp type thing. I mean, they thought out every little detail. Everything's thought of, everything's taken care of. Nothing goes in, nothing comes out, and you'll never see any proof unless we can get the people, the names, the dates, the locations, all of that, and bring it to the surface.
It's interesting you said Nazi. Do you recall seeing any kind of Nazi insignia or logo or anything around the swastika?
I did see the double rune. I never did see any swastikas on people's arms, but I did see a lot of the double rune SS troops in their ultra-modern uniforms, basically with the mask and the goggles and all that, with the double rune on their chest.
What's that? Double rune? Rune?
The double rune, like the SS badge.
Is that with the 2 lightning bolts?
Yeah.
And do you think this is on planet Earth? Well, I guess you probably don't know.
Yeah, I wouldn't really know. I wish I knew. I wish I could walk right up to the front door and say, let me in. I don't care what you do to me. I just have to know. But I don't think they'll ever give me that opportunity.
Well, what do you think the agenda of this group ultimately is? I mean, what is their goal?
I mean, as far as I can tell, it's just control of the masses, control of the energy, and ultimately life extension, trying to live forever. These old men don't want to die and face what they've done. A lot of them don't believe in an afterlife even. They just believe in energies which change form, and they want to stay in this form forever. So that's basically where it's all headed. All of this research, creating all these super soldiers for all these wars, is just leading towards them being able to live forever.
According to Billy Meyer, before he got cloned and before he was killed and replaced with a clone in the mid-90s, his Palladian contacts gave him something known as the Enoch prophecies, in which the Palladians warn the Cabal not to make these super soldiers because eventually one day they would become autonomous and would cause destruction unit by unit, and that they wouldn't be able to control, and it would be just devastating to the whole planet.
Yeah, I mean, I've been saying for a while, if a level 4 gets loose, generally it'll be something like the Boston bombing incident, where it's this 1 or 2 guys that snap, break, and normal, average, everyday people can take them down with everyday bullets. If a level 5 breaks loose in Alter, you're pretty much done. There's no way that you could stop them without a couple 100 level 4s. I mean, they are just that good. So that's where it's at. I mean, if you have level 7s, level 8s, level 9s, I mean, where does it end? These people are not really the best people to be creating, especially if they just decide one day, well, I don't want to listen to you anymore. I'm going to go do my own thing and kill everybody.
Yeah.
And there's nothing you can do.
That sounds what happened with my friend Nathan Wilder. You know the story behind Nathan?
Yeah, he was the first one you talked to, the lone wolf.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Well, I think this is a good place to start our meditation. Is there anything in particular you wanted to explore?
I was basically thinking I wanted to find out exactly where that base is, or what the group is called that we are part of. If I could, I mean, that's what I want to know. I want to be able to walk up to their front door and ask for questions, like anything.
So anyway, as far as you're concerned, just go ahead and lay down and get comfortable. And let me know, are you able to lay down and put are you on the phone?
Yeah, I'm on the phone. I mean, I'm in a little thing I made out of foil and things to keep all the waves, the EMFs and everything out. Because whenever they're around, you tend to get a feeling of dread, and that's never fun.
So like, have you created your own homemade Faraday cage?
Pretty much, yeah. It's just tinfoil and plywood, but it works. I mean, you definitely feel a difference, and a lot of times electronics don't work in here.
Wouldn't tinfoil, wouldn't that amplify the energies?
If you do it wrong, if you put it outside of the wood and make sure everything's set up properly, it won't.
Okay. All right. Well, in that case, go ahead and lay down and try to prop your phone in such a way that I can hear you. And generally, the closer your mic is to your mouth, the higher the quality of the audio. So try to situate that. So go ahead and close your eyes. You don't really need to do anything right now. Let me take over for a moment here. There's a wormhole portal into hyperspace. You've probably been into hyperspace before, so this should be familiar territory for you. So gently feel yourself just being sucked inside. And while you're traveling through hyperspace, make sure you stay in the main tunnels, because when you look to the right or the left of you, you may hear sounds from different times and different places. We don't want any of that. We just want to go to your special place of the mind, which is going to be at the end of the tunnel. And your special place of mind will contain all the answers that you seek for all the questions that you seek without any ego attachment. And so just keep on going down the tunnel, and let me know when you've reached the end of the tunnel there. You're going to step. It's going to look like a hallway of many doors. So let me know when you're there.
It's like yellow walls with a white floor, blue spots. It's close.
Well, do you see doors?
Yeah.
Okay, great. All right, so you're there. I'm assuming, right?
Yeah, they're gray doors.
I really don't know which door to look behind, so I'm going to ask you. Is there any door that you think that we need to explore first, or should we just go to any random door, or do you need some help?
Oh, for some reason, door 3 stands out.
So whenever you're ready, go ahead and step inside door 3 and tell me what you see.
It's a first-generation super soldier.
Where are you?
I'm in a psych ward-looking place. Everything is gray with thin rubber mats. And there's a notebook on the desk.
Any idea what year it might be, or the era, or maybe what country or location?
Nuremberg, 1945.
So what happens next?
The door comes open, and there's a man standing. He's not a man. He's wearing a long black trench coat and blacked out goggles, some sort of jet fighter mask. And his helmet, it's like a Nazi helmet, but bigger. He's just standing there. I don't know what he wants. And he just grabs me and throws me down the hall.
Wait, hold on. So this Nazi character just grabbed you?
Yeah.
And he took you. He threw you down the hall, or is he walking with you?
Oh, he's just walking, but he's like pushing, so I fall. I'm very small.
What? You're very small?
Yeah, I think I'm 5 or 6. I mean, I'm tiny. He's so big.
Okay. Is he being aggressive to you, or does he just want to show something? What's his demeanor towards you?
He's kind of like an older brother, kind of like he was just picking on me. But he doesn't mean anything by it. He has no emotions. He's a robot, sort of. But he's not. He's still human.
Tell him enough of the games, that you're here for answers, and ask him for help. Ask him to show you something that to show you what you need to see.
It's a chest with a uniform on it. It's a gray uniform with a red band on the hat. It looks like a hat Stalin would wear, but it's gray with a red band. It has gold trim and a gold bird on the front. And they say, put on your uniform and get back in line. And there's children standing in a row, all dressed like me.
Okay, so this Nazi character is telling you to stand in line with these other kids. Alright. And what happens then?
They bring in fighters, 2 kids in their underwear, and tell them to fight to the death. And the kids start fighting with these sharpened sticks, and that's all they were. Like broom handles with points. And one kid got stabbed in the shoulder and went down, and he didn't live long.
Did the other boy kill him?
Yeah, they wanted us to watch. It's part of their sick game.
Oh. Alright, so what happens then?
He had blue eyes, and he kept looking at me. And there was blood pumping all around his neck and up his face. He was choking.
Who is?
The little boy.
That was stabbed?
Yeah. It's like he looked into me.
Oh.
I thought I could save him, and I couldn't.
Do you have a connection to that young man?
Not that I know of. He saw something in me. Something that wasn't in the others. I guess they just had blank eyes, and he saw the pain.
The pain of who?
The pain of watching him die in my eyes. None of the others showed any kind of remorse for him. They just watched like little robots.
Is there any lessons, or is there a particular message that you needed to know from this particular memory?
The uniform. Why they would put us in little Soviet-looking uniforms. It's very odd.
Well, why don't you ask the Nazi guy there? Ask him why you're wearing those uniforms. Do you think he'll help you?
He doesn't really talk, but he's trying to tell me something.
Okay.
So,
maybe you could use telepathy to read his mind.
Says your soldier spawns of the SS. You will obey orders. You will become the elite. And that's it. He won't say anything else.
So what do you think that means?
That was our first real look at death, I would say. In the face of it, people had died around us before, but we never had to watch.
Oh. How old do you appear to be? Are the other boys and girls around? I'm assuming are there girls, or is it just boys?
As far as I can see, it's just boys. Everyone has their hats on. It's hard to tell.
Is there anything else that you need to know from this particular event?
They held sparring matches there. It was a very small room. It was just a gray square where the kids could wrestle and the animals could kill each other. They could lower a cage down on it, and pigs and dogs and things would fight and rip each other to pieces. They found great sport in it. That's their game, and they're great at it.
Is there a connection with you in that particular event? Were you exposed to that?
I saw a lot of fights. Rottweilers fighting Dobermans, and pigs fighting each other. Cats and dogs and rats and anything they could think of to throw in there with little kids and whatever they could find.
And are you still in that same psych ward place?
It's the same. It's not the same building, but it's the same location. It's like we went from the upper floor down into the base itself.
What do you feel that you were being indoctrinated for in all this?
Combat. To get used to the sight of death. To become comfortable with it and love it. And my little boy saw that I didn't love it. Not at first.
But that happened later on?
Yeah.
Is there anything else that you need to know from this event?
Not that I can find. But I know it comes back. American.
I got an idea. Before we go back in the hallway, could you go back up into the psych ward where that desk was with that piece of paper? Are you able to do that?
I can't seem to find my way.
Oh. Because I was wondering if you could read what was on that piece of paper. Do you remember what that piece of paper said?
Jacob Schadenfreude. Starts with a J.
Are you able to pronounce it in German? Is that the language it's in? I made an assumption there.
I mean, it's definitely another language, but I can't tell if it's German. The other letters are blurry.
Yeah, I notice that happens sometimes, but that's okay. Maybe we're not meant to see that right now. I don't know. But when you're ready, let's go step back out in the hallway. Let me know when you're in the hallway.
I don't know.
Okay. So I'm really not quite sure what it is you need to see next. So what we're going to do is I'm going to just ask your higher self to show you a door that that's maybe gives you an answer, maybe who you were, or how you actually got involved in all this.
I was born into it.
Maybe there's well, more specifically, I want to see like who. When I say who you were, like what your name might have been.
I think it was Jacob.
Was that during the German era?
I'm fairly positive.
Okay. Do you have a last name? Alright. Okay. Well,
I just kept hearing Schadenfreude, whatever that means.
say that again?
Schadenfreude. But I've never heard that before.
Schadenfreude?
Yeah, it sounds German.
Huh. Okay. All right. Well, I guess that answers that question. All right, then let's look for another door that's maybe connected to something that's going on in this current live stream of yours. I'm assuming that this is all current live stream. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe that was I don't know. But something that's connected that happened, maybe something recently, something that might help you with your healing.
It's like the more I try to get to the end of the hallway, the darker it gets. Like something's pulling me. Like I can't.
So is there something pulling you to a door at the end of the hallway?
Like the end of the hallway is blackness.
All right. Okay. Then I want you to manifest a floodlight, and I want you to connect it up to a extremely powerful battery, so it illuminates everything in a very bright light.
There are pale beings in the darkness.
What? I'm sorry. What?
There are pale beings in the darkness. They stand there with their sunken black eyes and their rotten teeth, and they're terrified.
I want you to approach these beings and ask them why are they terrified?
The men with the... They keep showing me an S. They just say the men with the symbol of an S on their chest keep coming around and hurting them.
Okay. Now ask them who they are or what their connection is to you.
They're failed clones. They're all rotting away. And I saw them when they were being made in their tubes.
Oh.
And they had no life.
Oh. So did you say they're clones?
They were failed clones. They were rotting away.
Okay. Failed clones of who?
I'm not sure.
Oh.
I wandered into a place I shouldn't have.
Okay. Do you think
bad luck of that?
Do you think these might be the spirit of these clone bodies haunting you?
It's entirely possible.
Hmm.
I attract the dead.
Okay. If there was a message you could tell these clone entities, what would you tell them?
I'm sorry, I was too young and dumb to help.
Okay.
I wish I could have been there to stop them from ever being made.
Did they die a traumatic death?
They were barely ever alive. They lived until their adult years, but it was more of a coma. They were just in tanks growing.
Why did they keep them in tanks? Can you ask them that, or do you know?
They couldn't figure out how to stabilize them in an environment that was unlike a womb. They kept just falling apart.
Mm.
They were trying to blend creatures, and they couldn't find a womb suitable. And they couldn't find a womb that could withstand the trauma of birthing them.
Hmm. So, did they live a life full of pain, or were they just in a coma, or?
I mean, they had a lot of IVs and things hooked up to what looked like their head. It was like a big tube of IVs plugged into the back of their neck. And they were just floating in this womb made of glass.
Okay. And any ideas why they were making these clones? Can
solve the problem of them melting. And not so much melting, but just falling apart, being a pile of nothingness by the time they were done.
How long did they live?
From the time they were made until they died, they grew at an incredibly advanced rate. But they died within the course of a week.
Okay.
You know, it was 15 or 20 in one room. It was a laboratory with vials, lab coats hanging on the walls. It was just very relaxed, not something you would see in a high-tech facility.
Okay. All right.
It's like they didn't care. Just doing it for the fun of it.
Oh, so they didn't care about the consequences of their actions. They were just experimenting. It's all science in their mind. Okay. And if these clone entities, if they could share a message with you, what would they want? What would they like to tell you?
Don't let them feel. Don't let them make you feel like a monster. They're only the monster they make you if you let them. And so they might look evil, but true evil comes with many faces.
Ask them if you're ready to go down to the end of the hall to open that door.
Yeah. The door has a lock, but there's a key. And I have it. It's on a long bead chain. Through the door, it's not something you would expect. It's just two chairs. They look like dentist chairs, but a lot up near the head.
A lot of what?
Like a lot of gear up near where your head would go. Instead of just a headrest, it's like a gigantic apparatus. And there's two chairs facing opposite ways in the room.
All right. Well, Michael, I want you to manifest a camera right now. And this is a high-definition digital camera. And take a snapshot of this chair. And I want you to store that information in your aura field, so that when we're done, you can draw this image that you see with crystal clarity. And I want you to now take a walk around the chair. Let's walk around it, 360, and just get a good look at different angles and the sides, and just describe to me what you see.
It's two chairs, both black with brushed silver trim. And in the center of them, between the two headrests, there's this little box with vials of different colors. And they sit people in the chairs and inject these chemicals and insert memories through their implants in their neck. And that's how they can catch people up and switch their bodies so easily.
Okay.
They put one body on one side and one on the other and just swap them.
All right. Well, let's do a little experiment here. What I want you to do is raise your vibrational frequency into the 5th dimension. So you're going to go into a different dimension where you're going to be able to see everything around you, but no one's going to be able to see you in the lower third. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So essentially, I'm making you invisible. And now I want you to create a portal around you, and let's change the timeline to the point, it could be either past or present or future, to when these chairs are in operation. So just go ahead and let me know when you see something show up, the beginning of something.
There's a lot of people walking.
Do you see anyone that you might know?
There's someone who looks like Aaron McCullum, but it's not. He has no tattoos. It's followed by another with no tattoos.
Okay. Well, we can make assumptions on who these people are later, but just tell me what happens next with this individual.
These men are led into the room and told to sit, but not with words, and they lay back, and a needle goes into their neck. And when they do something on a computer and something loads up, it almost looks like a battery, but it's colored red on a almost white screen. And it just says loading. And then the vials pump, and it's like they're enhanced and changed.
Where are the vials pumping the drug into? What part of their body?
There's just one needle in their neck and one in each wrist.
Okay. Is there any other apparatuses on their body?
Their legs are secured, but not really. It's like little cup holders for their feet. And their arms are secured onto the armrest just by a groove, because the pain doesn't faze them. They don't feel it.
Oh, okay. Okay. So what happens next? This drug gets pumped into their body, and then what?
And their eyes were closed, but they both shoot open at the same time. And it's like they're the same person operating together, but they're two people. It's like they are given the same mind and mentality and motives. A unit of the same being.
All right. And what kind of memories do you think was inserted inside of them?
Some sort of combat loadout. Some sort of training. One got training and the other didn't. And they wanted them both to know something for the same job.
So
switching clones.
So they're tasked on the same job, but they're given slightly different memories for different tasks for the same operation, maybe?
Yeah, something like that. I mean, they went in two separate but similar people and came out one person. Like their memories were melded into one cohesive thing. And it was just done by drugs and computers. I don't understand it. They let out and down their separate ways.
Well, back up. Were these two individuals, were they, did they have any articles of clothing on them?
One came in, yeah. They were both wearing separate. One had a white t-shirt and black pants with black boots, and the other had an army green t-shirt with khaki pants and brown boots. And they were let in separately, but when they left, they were brought and put on some sort of stasis in some little facility. Like, they just wanted them as memory storage or something, but not really. It's hard to figure out exactly why.
Well, when you say stasis, describe what that looks like.
It's pretty much like, I don't want to say freezing them, even though it is technically. But it's this silverish-looking bed that they stick them in. And everything gets chilled and almost looks blue. And they just freeze over. And when they need them, it's like they just thaw out like nothing happened.
All right. Okay. So, I know we went down to the end of the hallway, and for some reason, it seemed like you had a connection to this memory. Let's go back to the room with the two chairs. And do you happen to know what these chairs are called, or what they call them? Can you hear any voices in the room? What they refer to this device, this chair, as?
Total Recall Memory Boot Up System.
All right, good. So let's go ahead and play the timeline here, into the past or the future, to the point on perhaps maybe what your connection is to this chair. Well, are you ready to see that? Do you think you're ready to go to that point? Okay, then go ahead and do that, and tell me what you see.
I'm let in with someone. They look nothing like me. We're let in and put on the same chair, and everything flashes out. It almost looks like a schematic of inside a computer. And I'm going through
Hold on, pause. Do you see yourself there?
I don't see myself, but I see an avatar on a screen through my eyes of myself, going through program sets with words scrolling.
All right. Take a look at that computer screen. Let's activate your speed reading abilities right now, and I want you to quickly absorb the information that you're seeing on the screen and give me a synopsis of what kind of information is being relayed.
Different muscle signals sent for different motions and combat scenarios, such as jujitsu and things that one had learned and was passing on from a combat situation. So we can bounce off training and experience from one to another and be one cohesive unit.
You said a we?
There's me and one other person trading information mentally.
Oh, so there's like two chairs in this room?
Yeah.
Do you know who that other person is?
No.
Okay.
He's English.
Okay. All right. And describe what your avatar body looks like. What kind of clothes is he wearing?
Just a gray sort of military crew top shirt and black ACU pants with combat boots in black. And he's just getting booted in, laying with this other guy who has a thick English accent.
All right. Okay. So let's go ahead and play the timeline forward a bit. So is there anything else that happens that you feel is relevant? That's important for you to know?
This machine, it can wipe out memories. They can use it for different things to pick and choose what you know.
Well, let's try a little experiment. Okay. Let's play a timeline to the point where there's no one in the room. So either go back or forward. Let me know when the room is empty.
It's empty.
All right. So I'm going to be invisible too, and you're invisible. And what I want you to do is it okay that we try that I'll operate this computer and upload some memories into you?
Yeah.
Let's just see how that works. Okay. So go ahead and lay your body there in that seat, and let me go read the instruction manual how to operate this thing. Okay. I just downloaded the info. Okay. All right. So I'm going to hook this put this hand here and then okay. All right, and I'm going to adjust your head. Okay, good. All right, and everything's all lined up. All right. So this may hurt a little, but it's all for your healing and well-being. And I'm pulling up a few files here in the computer. Is there any particular memories that you want to bring back?
Why did my mother die?
All right, so we're gonna upload that. But any other abilities?
How is it that I function? Like, what are my trade skills?
Okay. Well, how about we upload some of that into you? So I'm going to go ahead and just pull some random file. Well, maybe not random. Okay, let me pull some files here. All right. So I think that you need that. Okay, that'd be good. All right. All right. You need that and that. Okay. All right. So let's try this experiment. I'm going to I'm turning on the machine. Okay. So just tell me what you experience.
It's very loud. Almost sounds like a generator. Humming.
All right.
It's blue, trickling, almost sparkling with information.
What you see, like a blue light?
It's like everything's blue, but a door. That's why it's against my face. I have to open it.
Has the injections gone into you yet?
No, I think one has.
All right.
Some sort of base.
So a bunch of information is now being downloaded into your mind, and you're going to have full access recall to that. And I want you to create a cybernetic uplink into the computer, and I want your implants now to download the information that you just asked that's relevant. So go ahead and grab that info.
My mother found out what they did to me.
And what did they do?
She had second thoughts, so they poisoned her, gave her cancer with the microwaves that they have.
How did they give her cancer?
They injected something and hit her with microwaves.
Okay.
It grew a gigantic tumor within a matter of months.
Okay.
They knew it would happen. They basically paid off doctors not to work on her. It was all very well thought out to leave me alone and susceptible to their use.
So it sounds like that was part of your programming, how they groomed you. Okay. Well, I'm not judging you. I'm just making assumptions here. I could be wrong, but you tell me.
I guess it played into my persona of the blackbird.
What about the blackbird?
Death.
And what is your connection to death?
Like the crow, I'm an assassin.
All right.
I have a superior intellect to win my battles.
All right.
I always complete my objective. You can't trick a crow.
Okay. So go ahead and continue downloading those memories of those missions that you've been involved with, your abilities and your gifts that they had in the avatar. Download that into you, and anything else you feel is relevant. Do you see any particular memories coming to mind? Something that you feel is important to remember at this time?
I would say the base where they trained me. This little shanty town. One of the bases when I was about 10 or 12. And I was 12 years old. They brought us there with this bright red barn. It was run down and a bunch of other buildings. And I do believe it's in Michigan. I never knew where it was, but I guess that's where. In the middle of the woods. Every autumn, they would bring us there and train us in active combat. If you fail, you die, and I've never failed.
Well, how many people would they bring out into the woods?
50, 60.
How many people died?
Not as many as you would think. Maybe 5 or 6. They're all like me.
Oh.
I saw a little blonde boy die. Just like the one who got stabbed, only older. Could have been his brother, for all I know. These little blonde boys
How did that make you feel when you saw them die?
Superior.
How does that make you feel now?
Regret. Why would I feel superior watching them die just because I was lucky not to?
Sometimes you just can't really make sense of these things, and it's just best just to let the universe bring the healing and integration when the time comes. And a lot of it is just forgiving yourself, because you had no way to really change that situation. So you can't really take responsibility. You just have to forgive. And that's all. It's all ultimately the key for healing. Are you willing to forgive yourself? Okay.
I do believe there's a sister base. The one I was at was called M552. There's one called Q552 somewhere. I heard the sister base is where many more go. I was at the sister, the smaller one. It's M from Michigan, I do believe. I think Q is up in Quebec or something.
All right. And are all these facilities connected to that same group that runs this chair that you're in?
There's a system that runs from base to base. They could get from one to the other within an hour or two. And they all know each other. They're the same people. They all have the same badges in different colors.
Okay. I got an idea. You don't... Okay, let me try something real quick here. I'm going to manifest a microchip. It's on a flash drive. And this microchip's going to create an interdimensional portal into the future. All right? And we're going to download all this information that you're retrieving right now into the computers in the future, so that the people in the future who are reviewing the timeline and who are sending people back in time to fix this mess will be fully aware of everything that just happened. So let me go ahead and plug that in, and I'm sending all that data off and uploading everything that they did to you and all these other young boys and girls and people, all the things that their bases and their plans. So all that information, okay, it's all now in the future. So we're going to get some in the future. I mean, in your future timeline, you may find some interesting synchronicities. Maybe people will show up that have been sent back in time to help you out. But okay, all right. So, is there any other experiences that you feel that is important to bring to light at this time from these memories?
I can't find any.
Oh, okay. Connect into the AI computers, download the information, create a cybernetic uplink, and I want you to scan the computer files and find the information connected to that symbol with the triangle and the circle. And I want you to find out what the name of that organization is.
I was there before you said it, but they're called the Therians, I do believe.
I'm sorry, say that again?
The Therians.
The Therians?
Like Therians.
All right.
Yes.
And is that the same organization that's running all these Total Recall chairs?
I would say they run most of them. They're forcing the illuminated ones out, regaining control.
So it sounds like there's like a faction within a faction that's at war with each other.
There are many wars.
Okay. Are you connected to this, what do you call them, Therians? Are you part of this group? Can you pull up your own file?
Therian Operative Alpha 224. Won't show me any of my stats. Not
Is it classified?
Every bit of it is encoded and comes up almost like a error blue screen. They don't want me in.
So I guess this is above your pay grade.
Yeah,
we need to upgrade your rank, your classification. Would I be able to get access to that info?
it's possible.
All right. Well, let me put my maybe I'll lay down the other chair. I'm going. Can you operate the computer while I lay down? Can you pull up info using Mike?
Yeah.
Okay. I guess you can go ahead and run the thing, object to whatever that gunk stuff they put in us. All right. So go ahead and run that.
Injecting red. Sequence started. Loading almost complete. It's done.
All right. I'm going to try to stay focused here, but I'm going to have to let you do the most of the work at this point. Run that computer, please, and start pulling up info. Pull up your file. See if you can find anything extra.
This is 224 Operative Classified Blackbird Call Out Delta 44 Magnum Main Armament 12 gauge automatic shotgun A4 A12 M4 carbine data point.
Can you speak up a little bit louder? I kind of hear what you said. You said some weapons. What exactly?
The weapons are endless for the training. Every weapon they trained me on. My primary armament is apparently a 44 Magnum, but I have a 12 gauge. I want to call it. It says it's an A12, whatever that is.
What exactly are you being utilized for? Should see if you can see what they primarily use you for.
Assassination. Wet work. Black operation. I've been trained in things I would call ninja type skills. Up on the screen is a black uniform, looks skin tight, has no goggles, and almost looks like a wetsuit, but it enhances your abilities. I've been trained to link up with it somehow, make it work.
What is that suit called? Or pull up the file. What do they call that the suit?
It's nano suit, something. It has nano in it. It's like nano cybernetic suit.
All right. What happens if somebody came up to you with a knife and tried to cut you while wearing that suit?
Well, it's very flexible, but when impacted by a weapon, it can sense the impact coming and harden like no armor that we have to this current time scale. Kevlar would break under the circumstances. It's harder than anything we currently have. Our military would lose their mind.
Yeah, are they trying to get a hold of one of these suits?
They have a knockoff of these suits, which turn them invisible for black operations. It's like little cameras on the cloth.
Okay. All right. We'll pull up do you see any other relevant data that you feel is important to know?
Picked up by a white van.
What happened with the white van?
Take me to Mars, combat. Bring me. I jump in the van and there's soldiers and handlers of each. Typically 3 soldiers, 3 handlers. And we go for our ride to the mission, or to our launch point.
So that's how they get you out of your home? It's through a white van?
Yeah, a white van with no markings.
So what happens? Do they just knock on your door and ask you to come? I'm joking. I know that's not what happened, but what happens?
It's more like I don't even have to be up. I could either get up and walk out the door, or I could just move through the solid objects and just be in the van instantaneously. It's odd. They could have just brought me to the place like that, but for some reason it involves travel. So being closer makes it more feasible.
So it sounds like you have an ability to teleport.
I would say something like teleportation.
And what happened on this mission on Mars?
The weapons were different. They were more blocky and fired some sort of new ammunition. We could go out and any sort of Illuminati soldiers or enemies at the time, we could just... sometimes we were evenly matched, but it was rare. We were always the alphas. Our weapons were always better, and these weapons were far superior.
All right. Take out that digital camera again, and I want you to take a photo snapshot so that later on I want you to draw this weapon that you're using. And let me know when you've done that. Okay. And now I want you to visualize how the weapon is used, or what comes out of it when they shoot it.
It's like a clear pink light, almost like a laser that points to the target. And then whatever it hits, after a small pulse, is obliterated, completely implodes, and then explodes.
All right. And describe what is your appearance in this particular timeline or event?
It's a large, it's almost like a sand color suit. It's got I don't want to call it glass mask. It's armor, but it's clear. It's almost like a Buzz Lightyear suit, but not quite. It's very bulky and hard to manage, but the helmet is smaller. It's one of the first suits that they could come up with to make walking in that low gravity so simple. Increase the mass and you increase the want to stick without floating off somewhere, which it's not that bad if you're dealing with human strength, but with super soldiers it's a whole other thing.
Is that because you just take one step and you go 50 feet?
Yeah.
I made an assumption there.
Weigh us down. The suits have a technology to control our muscles even more than we can.
Right. So why are you attacking these individuals? Do you happen to have that information available?
They want control of our bases. They want control of our men. They need power.
Oh, so this Illuminati group is they're creating super soldiers to fight against the Therians?
Yeah. They're both make and steal soldiers. They're the same soldiers, the same process, but a different cause.
Well, okay, so what was the ultimate outcome of that battle?
I killed 3, but many evaded my capture and made it to the base. They got inside, but didn't make it far. I killed 12, but were overcome. It was pretty much a man for a man.
Okay. All right. Well, is there anything else about this particular mission that you feel is important?
I had never known I was off-world before. Not really.
Well, what does Mars look like?
It's not as red as they make it seem in pictures. It's more of a dusty yellow color. There's a lot of large boulders and things. It's not quite as flat as it seems in those pictures either. We were in more of a hillscape, but it was solid stone with dust covering it. And the guns would fire and people would just implode, rocks would shatter. And they caught some pictures of us on their little Earth rovers, not meaning to. But that's what they call aliens, these men in the suits.
Well, wait a minute, you said something about a rover?
Yeah, the little Earth rover.
Are you talking about the NASA rovers?
Yeah, they catch us up there every so often. They kind of play it off like it doesn't exist, but they've leaked a few photos of us not meaning to.
Oh, okay. But I mean, so it's not, but I mean, NASA's controlled by the same Illuminati faction,
Yeah.
so they have an vested interest to keep it covered up.
Yeah, they really don't want it out.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So, well, I think it's probably good to let's go back to the facility where I assume I'm still laying there in that chair. Briefly, can you pull up my file and see if you can find any info maybe that's relevant? Do you feel that that's important for me to know? I'm sure that there might be quite a bit there, just a few tidbits, nothing. I mean, I don't want to keep you too long. Anything you feel is interesting that I probably should know?
When I try to bring it up, it doesn't say James M. Rink. It says James T. Rink.
Okay, then pull up James T. Rink, and can you figure out why it says T?
It was supposed to be your name, but someone screwed up in your real life, like in your home life, and gave you the wrong initial. The message wasn't relayed to the brain properly. So in files, you're still James T.
Oh, so when they inserted me in my family, they were supposed to give me a T name, middle name?
Yeah.
Is that what you said?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. All right. Then look up the date of birth. James T. Rink. What's his date of birth?
It's 3/5/85.
All right. And do you happen to know what the T stands for?
Tiberius.
All right.
No,
Okay. And all right. So just keep scanning through the file. Anything else you feel is relevant? Something catches your eye?
Every time I try to scan, the screen turns black and shorts out. I keep hitting it, and it won't turn on.
Are you having trouble running the interface there? Well, let me help you out there. I'm gonna. Is it okay? I step out of the chair.
Yeah.
Now that I got the chair. Okay, so I'm gonna push you aside a little bit, and let me just type a few things in the keyboard, or whatever the interface is. I think it's a keyboard. All right. So some neat little screens are coming up. All right. I'm moving some things around. Okay. So there. I'm gonna have to use your eyes to see. Since you're a little bit more grounded in this dimension. Do you see anything else on the screen?
Yeah, they were trying to short circuit it and give false information.
Okay. So what?
And it was like a Star Trek joke.
All right.
James T. Kirk instead of James M. Rink.
All right. So what is my name?
It is James M. Rink.
Good. All right. And now look at the next field or where we see date of birth. Is it there? Do you see it?
It doesn't have much. It's like the screen just goes blue and everything's hard to read. Like I can't focus. Something's trying to pull me away from it. Like I can't. It's like I'm not supposed to tell you anything. They don't want even one thing. Like names, anything. They're forcing me.
Do you think we should have let them do that? Do you feel like knowing this information would be detrimental at this time, or do you think we should try to resist?
I mean, if we went into this file, it could trigger you and make you. It might just be them trying to make us not. They say that you would be triggered and become an unstoppable force, but I can't do that.
Well, let me back up. When you say they, are you talking about the Therians or this Nazi group?
It's whoever controls my implants. They keep saying, don't look, and messing with me. The computer looks fine. I could read it if my eyes would just focus.
Okay, well, let me ask you, your intuition, what do you think should be, do you think I should know this information, or do you think that we should trust I'm assuming your handler, whoever's connected to your implants? What do you feel we should do?
I just asked them. I said, why? I said, all you need to know is look into Jackson. It's the only thing that will lead you to the truth.
Well, then we're gonna have to save that for another time, because that's gonna be a lot. So I hope you understand.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, do you feel this is a good stopping point, or did you want to explore some more?
They don't want me to do much. They just said, oh, wow, that's odd. Little Grays came walking down the hallway wearing black turtleneck suits.
Oh, well, are they looking at you?
No, they just walked down the hall like a little flock of birds, but on foot. Like that's
okay.
Yeah, that's odd.
Well, are we still invisible to them?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure we are. They didn't even look.
All right. Oh, okay. Well, let's go back into the hallway. Not that hallway, but the hallway with the many doors. All right. So, remember, and you took some of those digital photo shots. So go ahead and keep that in your aura, nice and so. Okay, and now let's go step back into hyperspace. 1, slowly coming 2 now. 2, more and more awake. 3, 4, and on the count of 5, eyes open, wide awake, and 5, eyes open, wide awake, feeling better than you felt before. Welcome back. So, you were pretty good there, Michael. Thank you for being a guinea pig for a short little bit.
It's no problem, and as long as it helps someone.
Yeah. Well, did you learn some new stuff?
Yeah, I remember the gun I used to use. I think it was huge.
You mean your avatar bodies?
Yeah, I mean, compared to me in the Avatar, it wasn't huge, but compared to me now, it would be almost as big as me.
Well, anything else strike your mind? You feel it's unusual, or you feel worth sharing?
I know what grip chairs are for. They're just for basically anything to do with your brain. If they want to install any sort of memories or information, they can. That's nice.
Well, are you still getting a lot of? Because what I tried to do, and when I put you in that total recall chair, what did you call it? Do you remember the name? You said the total recall something. Remember the full name? No.
Full recall. Oh my! What the hell?
Yeah. Okay. Well, it's all right. Well.
Oh, that's so weird.
Yeah.
Did I
So when I put you in the total recall chair to gather information, what I'll try to do is have you download information about missions. Do you have a lot of more recall about these missions you've been involved with, or is it still kind of hazy?
I mean, still fairly hazy, but I mean, I remember more of the faces of the people than I ever did.
Yeah, we didn't get to experience your to look more into your handler. Did you happen to see your handler down there?
And handler, I mean, I know what she looks like now.
Oh.
If I saw
Okay.
her, I could pick her out of a crowd.
All right. Well, it sounds like that we need to go to the Jackson facility and poke around there, but I don't want to do that. That's just going to take too much time tonight. And you've done a really good job so far. So I just want to thank you. Is there any final comments or questions?
No, I mean, should work, you know. I just hope things don't get any weirder.
Yeah.
But they will.
Well, what would you like to see in the future for all this?
Well, honestly, I just hope I can figure out more about myself and kind of get more of a clear picture of just what it is that I do, like who it is that I am.
Well, we sent off that all that data to your future self, so I'm sure, or maybe not necessarily your future self, but maybe your future self can get it. So eventually you get that data.
Yeah, hopefully. Awesome. Yeah.
Well, do you happen to have any contact information you feel comfortable sharing? Do you have a website or a blog or email?
Basically, anyone that knows you can basically just find me through you and message me if they want. I have no problem with that at all.
Thanks, Michael. I think it's a good place to stop, so you have a good evening, and thanks everybody for listening in. Bye-bye.